You Booked It, episode 78. Hey, entertainers and performers of the world. I'm your host, Dane Reese, and welcome to You Booked It, where I chat with inspiring entertainment professionals 7 days a week. By digging into their journey, we're going to discover everything you need to do to have a successful entertainment career. You know, because training usually skips that part about how to actually make your skills work for you in the real world. Fellow entertainers, my drive here at You Booked It is to share the inspiring and incredible journeys of successful entertainment professionals. We're here to support your journey. So go to youbookeditpodcast.com and join the You Booked It email community, where we dig deep into truly actionable things you can be doing right now to book that next audition, submission, or gig. If you enjoy this free podcast, please show your support and search for You Booked It on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app, where you can subscribe so you don't miss an episode, leave a rating, and review. And now, let's do this. All right, let's get started. I am excited to introduce my guest today, Brandon Nix. Are you ready for this, Brandon?
Hey guys, how are you?
All right. Brandon is originally from Memphis, Tennessee, and was born to be an entertainer. From theme parks to cruise ships, Broadway shows to live music with his band on Fremont Street in Las Vegas, he has truly done it all. Credits include Rock of Ages, We Will Rock You, Magic Mike Live, Baz, Chippendales, and Saturday Night Fever. Brandon, that is a quick intro of who you are and what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Fill in the gaps, who you are, and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the entertainment industry.
You know what, Dane? I think we all have to be this way, like jack of all trades. You have to move and adapt, and whatever quote unquote they ask you to do, you do it. Again, like you said, I've done everything from stripping to Broadway shows to rapping on Fremont Street. It's just one thing after another. My true passion, and with the quarantine and everything, I'm cooking a lot more. And I have a little side hustle called Nix's Fixins, and I cook soups, and I'm a Southern grandma. I'm a Southern grandma that takes his clothes off on stage.
Beautiful.
So.
What a mix. Love it. And I love that you said you got to be a jack of all trades. And I think you're so right in so many regards, because even when I speak to the normal muggles of the world and they're like, well, what do you do? I'm like, I perform. They're like, what does that mean? And you're like, I sing and dance. They're like, oh, what kind of dancing? You say, I don't really know how to answer that question. Whatever.
I do what they pay me to do.
Yeah, I'm trained in a lot of different things, and what do you want me to do? I can do it. And it's always a weird conversation, isn't it?
The funny thing is it's going to sound weird, I have not been trained in anything. I grew up, this is what we did. And every time I know you've seen like videos of me with my family and stuff. When we get together, we're like the Southern Von Trapps. I'm the singer, and we've got like a piano player and guitar player and a bass player. Not just the bass, the stand bass. It's just how I grew up, and singing in the church and harmonies and stuff, like just is what I did, but I wasn't trained necessarily. And I don't want to sound, like egocentric or anything, but it's just what we did.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's amazing that was part of your upbringing.
I do remember my first musical theater show, though. The choreographer was like, you're never going to make it. Like this old lady, like smoking her cigarette. She was like, you've got 2 left feet. You're never going to make it. And I mean, here I am.
Yep. Love it. And let's move on to this next section. And Brandon, look, I am a sucker for a good quote. What's your favorite quote you'd like to share with everyone?
Okay, so this is going to sound mean. Anything from the Golden Girls is good with me. But my mother just sent me a mask and it says, "Eat dirt and die, trash." Again, sounds mean, but it's funny in context.
Very good. Well, can you expand on that a little bit on how that would apply to your life or career?
Oh, to my career? No, nothing to my career. It's just I love the Golden Girls. I love Blanche, and it's probably my favorite quote from my favorite show. Again, nothing to do with like my career. It's just I think it's funny.
Beautiful. Love it. And let's move on to this next section. And Brandon, of course, look, you are an entertainer. I'm an entertainer. And I think that you'd agree that this industry can be one of the most subjective, brutally honest, personally emotional industries in existence. And you know as well as I that in order to create and have a successful career in this industry like you're having now takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, yeah, there is an outrageous amount of fun and excitement doing what we do, there are also our fair share of obstacles, challenges, and failures we are going to experience and we're going to have to move forward through. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career, and how did you come out the other side better because of it?
Going back to the jack of all trades kind of thing, one specific thing, I'm musical theater kid and I stumbled into band work. And when I say band work, someone a producer saw me in We Will Rock You, the Queen musical, and he was like, "We want to see you for our band." And I was like, "Cool, sweet." So they sent me the song list and it was all rap. And I was being from Memphis, there's a lot of rap music there, but I was like, "Oh no, no, not for me." And he was like, "No, I've seen you do this. You're gonna be fine." And I turned him down so many times. And here I am, what, 12, maybe 12, 13 years later. And I am, well, I am, quote unquote, rapping every night on Fremont Street, like legit rapping, Florida, 3 6 Mafia, all that kind of stuff. It's funny when you challenge yourself what you can overcome or accomplish. I never thought that I would be a rapper. And now that's my sole income.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I can imagine you never saw your career even going that direction, I can imagine.
No, I believe you took over for me in Baz, correct?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So going from that to 3 6 Mafia,
Bit different, bit different.
it's
Yeah.
it's just a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah, wild. Well, let's move on to this section to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. That one moment in time you realized, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living, or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing as an entertainer. Tell us about that.
Oh, I did a lot of like theme parks when I was younger. I say younger, I'm like, not that I'm like a grandpa, and cruise ships and this and that. But you know what? I think it was when I did Rock of Ages. And I happened to be the first person in the history of the show, Broadway, the first guy that understudied every single role in the show.
Really?
Yeah, there were 8 roles, and I remember specifically the night where they were like, "You have to go on for" it was, Mark Chinook, and they were, "You have to be Lonnie," and that was my 8th role of the whole show, and, it was that was my aha moment, and I know it was only, like, what, 4, 5 years ago, but that was my kind of, "Okay, you" I played everyone from weed smoking, like, old owner to the German dad to the young, like, gay German son to the rock star to it. was crazy, but that was my kind of, okay, you can do this. And again, I mean, kind of an older revelation, but I had always done like you, it's just what we did. But it wasn't until then that I was like, give it to me, throw it to me. I can do anything. I might not be the best older German dad, but but I know I can do it now.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much to be said about stretching yourself, and people see things in you and they're like, "We know you can do it," before you have even come to terms with the fact that, "Yeah, I can do that." Put yourself out there and see what happens.
Yeah, and there's this stigma to be in a swing, and trust me, it's all true. They're never gonna see you as the leading role because they know you can cover everything. But man, what great things you can do. The leading man is only going to play the leading man. As a swing, you get to dance the role. You get to, because you did it in Baz. Like, you get to sing the role. You get to act and put yourself into all these characters.
Yeah, and truth be known, to most producers, the swing is almost invaluable because they're harder to come by. In reality, it's easier to find your leading men if you only need to cinch down one role, but you need to find someone that can be diverse enough to play a whole gamut. Whew, that can be really challenging.
And as the swing, it is wonderful and frustrating at the same time because you're
For
like,
sure.
but like you said, the directors and choreographers, they're like, oh, cool. You're like the secret weapon in showbiz and musical theater kind of stuff because they're like, okay, throw Dane in, throw Brandon in, like he's got it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to piggyback on that real quick and talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day, the auditions and callbacks, if they happen to be a part of it. What was going on in your life, and what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
Okay, I've got a couple, but the first one was as a young artist. We all moved to New York and we all try to make it on Broadway and this and that. And I had lived there for, I think, 2 years, couldn't get a call back to save my life. And I was a baby, I was young. And I got a cruise ship. And so I went out on the ship and we flew back from Sydney, and we were living in LA at the time. I was with my boyfriend and my best friend. We all did the contract together. We had jet lag really bad.
Yeah.
And this was back when bookstores were a thing. Oh, so sad, bookstores. And we couldn't sleep. So we went to Barnes and Nobles, and we were looking through the backstage west. And my friend was like, hey, here's an audition for Saturday Night Fever, the Broadway musical. She was like, you should go. And I was like, oh, I'm really tired, got jet lag and this and that. And we went home and just couldn't sleep. And so she was like, nothing better to do. Let's go to the audition.
Yeah, why not?
And literally a day after coming back from Australia, went to the audition after having lived in New York for 2 years, booked the gig.
Just like that. Boom.
Just that flew me back to New York, booked the gig. So it took me 2 years in New York, then going to Australia, coming back to LA and booking the gig.
That's amazing. Isn't that so crazy how fast things can happen all of a sudden, just like that?
Yeah, it was so weird. And the second one, I had on a fluke. Again, it's always these things where you audition, or it's always the ones where I don't know how you feel, but where you go in, you're like, I've
Yeah,
got a job.
100%.
If I get it. But it's when you go in thirsty for a gig, you never get it. If you go in and you're like, cool, that's when it always seems to happen. So I was a manager at Hollister in the Fashion Show Mall, and I had auditioned for We Will Rock You. and was like, whatever. Went in, I had a real job. And I was at work one day and I got a call on my cell phone and it was a New York number. And I was talking to my friend and I was like, oh, he was like, who's calling you? I was like, I don't know. It's New York. It must be Broadway, as a joke, completely as a joke. And I answered the phone. Sure enough, it was New York calling me to get the job at We Will Rock You.
Oh my gosh.
So anytime a New York number calls you, say, "Oh, it must be Broadway,"
Lesson learned.
because it happened. So
Oh,
those are my two stories.
brilliant. I love both of those. And let's move on and take a moment to talk about the present. What projects are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And hey, look, it's a crazy weird time. We are amidst this global pandemic. How do you see the entertainment industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
This is like a threefold question. I honestly, I'm going to be 100% real. I have been lazy pants. Me and my dog, we go for walks at night, but I haven't accomplished much. But like I said, I'm trying to get back into my little side hustle with cooking. I do love being in the kitchen. So that's where I've been right now, is focusing on food. But the entertainment industry, that's super tricky. My sister lives in DC, and I went there for the month of June, out there for my birthday. And I went and stayed there. While I was there, I got a call from my producer, and they were like, Fremont is opening up tomorrow. Can you fly back? And it was, I think, maybe 30 minutes later, and Fremont issued a retraction and they're like, no, it's not going to happen. Thank God I didn't buy a plane ticket home. But I don't know, there's going to have to be a lot of red tape and protocols. And honestly, for a place like Fremont Street, I don't know how it's going to happen and happen safely. And right now, that's the whole thing. We want everything to come back, but we can't rush into things and be like, let's open up the strip and everybody party. We can't do that. But there are little rooms, little places are starting to open, and that you're sat equidistant from each other, and you have to wear your mask unless you're eating or drinking. Like the singer wears a mask. So it's going to take little things like that opening up, and some sidewalk cafes here and there that are doing the same thing. But as far as large gatherings, and look, this is my bread and butter, but I don't want to be out there
Yeah.
as much as I want to work and have a blast doing it. It just doesn't feel safe right now.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you.
Yeah, for your listeners, like, my band plays on Fremont Street, so it's a wonderful place to visit when you're in Vegas, and it's so much fun right now. It's not where you want live music to be.
Yeah, because I've done many a gig down there, not nearly as frequent as you, for those big days like the Halloweens and the New Year's Eves and things like this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's shoulder to shoulder, that entire section. You can't even hardly move up and down.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, and even with like masks on and stuff, having the live music just draws more crowds to. I think what they're doing, don't quote me on this, but I think what they're doing now is showing on each stage to keep some kind of energy, momentum going down there. I think they're showing on like big screens
Mm,
old concerts like Brett Michaels and Journey and all these people that have played down there, and some of our bands like us and Zoe Bowie and things like that. So I think that's how they're handling the pandemic, the craziness.
yeah, entertaining people, but not having to, just reducing the amount of people.
Yeah. Yeah, because if there's live music, it's just gonna it's like a moth to a flame.
Yeah,
You
of
know,
course.
people
Yeah.
are gonna stop and they're, you know, gonna be breathing all over each other and stuff, which is not what we want right now. We all want to get back to work, but that's the last thing that we all need.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it is time to move on to one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning Round. I am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one after another. Are you ready?
Oh my goodness, I'm scared. Okay, yeah.
Okay, first question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
Be steady, like a steady gig.
Totally. Second question. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Just trust yourself. Just do it.
Perfect. Third question. What is something that is working for you right now? Or if you'd like to go pre COVID, what was working for you before our industry went on pause?
Okay, I was talking with friends today. I seem to be better when I have a job or things to do. When I don't have anything to do, I am a sloth and I just sit. So pre COVID was perfect for me because I knew how to write out my days and I got more accomplished. But now that there's nothing to do, guess what? I don't do anything.
There you go. I mean, that's invaluable information to know about yourself. And I think that's something that's true for a lot of us that the busier we are, the more efficient our work becomes.
Oh God, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, there's nothing to do today, so I can do it tomorrow. You know what I mean?
For sure. And the fourth question. What is your best resource? Whether that is a book, a movie, a YouTube video, a podcast, maybe a piece of technology that you found is helping your career right now.
I am sadly addicted to Facebook, and I've got those things that come up. I don't watch the news, but to be 100% true, it's Game Show Network. It well, it tests my brain, and it's like word puzzles and trivia questions. It's getting me through everything is watching game show after game show.
Brilliant. And the fifth question. If you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in this industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently or would you keep it the same?
I would finish my degree. I went to Baptist college and I was studying to be a music minister. I know everybody laugh and applaud, but I never finished because I was getting job offers. And it's the one thing that I regret now. And not just but because of COVID or whatever. I've thought about this a lot. I'm like, man, I could have been singing at night and being a choir teacher during the day. So I I would say that I would have finished school and been a music teacher.
Great. And the last question. What is the golden nugget knowledge drop you have learned from your successful career in this industry that you'd like to leave with everyone?
As we've talked, you have to be a jack of all trades. And there have been so many times that I've been given a job. I said no to Baz in the beginning because I was like, I can't do that. And like, it's super physical and all the dancing and this and that. Just, you can't say no because I booked they wanted me to be a Chippendale, and I was like, oh, I don't, I don't think that's gonna work. I'm like 5'8" and skinny. Just you can't say no. I've done everything in the books, and again, I might not have been the best at everything that I've done, but you know what? I did it, and you have to just go into it and be like, all right, cool, let's give this a try. If it doesn't work, what's it going to hurt you? There's another audition tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you just have to go do it, and you get crazy in your head sometimes, and you just have to let that go. And I'm still guilty of it. There's things that not recently, but things that I've been called in for, and I'm like, oh, that's not me. You know what? You don't know it's not you until you go in and you try it. And look, I'm rapping.
Yep, there you
so,
go.
so just don't tell yourself no.
Yes, I love that. Perfect advice. And to
Yeah.
wrap up this interview, it is time to give yourself a plug. Where can we find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
My band is called Velvet Elvis, like the painting. And fingers crossed, we're going to be back soon on Fremont Street. And we play there every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. If you want to find my cooking page, it's on Facebook. It's Nix's Fixins. That's NIXSFIXINS. Yes, I spelled it like a country girl. Other than that, you can find me at my house with my dog, because we're not really going anywhere.
Perfect. And for everyone listening out there, I have put the links to everything Brandon just said in the description of this episode. Brandon, it has been so wonderful to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for calling me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining us today. My one call to action for you is to go to youbookeditpodcast.com and join our free email community, where we dig deep into a continually growing resource of truly actionable things you can be doing right now to help advance your entertainment career. Don't miss an episode. We have a new guest 7 days a week. Search for You Booked It on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app and subscribe today. All the best to you. We'll see you tomorrow.